but I'll save that till next time. Okay?
All right, what do you want to have this
You
title?
like that? Okay, we'll call this, now I got to think about a verse too. Oh yeah, I'll just use this one. Time and eternity.
Okay.
Okay.
And you got a verse to go with this?
Yeah, Job 121.
Okay.
Okay.
It
Let's
is
see.
running, so anytime you want to start.
Okay. Well, greetings, my dear friends. This is H.D. McCarty, your old Razorback Rabbi, coming to you again from Northwest Arkansas with a thought that's at this time very personal, and I still feel my heart grieving. I want to talk to you today about a simple subject: time and eternity. How about that? How would I go about taking time and eternity in a 10-minute talk? Well, it's simple when you really put it together. Paul told the Corinthian Christians, he said, I pray that Satan will not distract you from the simplicity that is in Jesus Christ. And so even the most profound thing looked at with the eyes of God is simple. And even the simple thing that we think we understand is quite profound once we get into the details of it. Well, let me tell you what happened. This weekend, my oldest and firstborn granddaughter was expecting a little boy to be born here in a few months. And she was almost 6 months along in her pregnancy when she had a miscarriage. We lost that little almost 6-month-old boy. Well, needless to say, as I've gotten older and understand things now, a miscarriage with a woman misses her old dumb husband and men so many times. But I've come to see that it is one of the most traumatic things that can happen to an expectant mother. Well, this little guy is long gone now. I've written my granddaughter a letter, and she announced it, and my daughter announced it on their Facebooks. And I just have a word to say about that I think will be helpful, because I thought, well, good night, he had 6 months to live and to be alive and to be a little person. And I've had 86 years to live and be alive. What's the really big difference? What have I picked up that he missed? What's happened to me that he was cheated of? Isn't that interesting? Now that he has all that God has to give him. There was a great missionary. He died in December by the name of Don Richardson. And he took his wife and little 6-month-old baby girl to New Guinea as missionaries. Can you believe that? About 50 some odd years ago. And among a tribe whose their great value was treachery. In other words, the best thing you can do in life is deceive someone and be treacherous, even if it meant killing them. Now, boy, that's some assignment, isn't it? But the story goes, and I wish I had time to get into it. I've had Don Richardson in my church when I was a pastor. They even made a film of how he reached these people for Jesus Christ. And he also wrote a book. He bought several, but the one he wrote quotes a verse in Ecclesiastes, eternity in their hearts. And the great thought there, I don't have time to linger on it, but that I got from that book, every baby that's died in the womb and every child that's died of infant mortality or as a little child, disease and all that, before they had the age of accountability and they could accept Jesus Christ. Can you imagine how millions of children have lost their life through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of age, 7, whatever? But in our theology, as you understand the Bible, and as the Lord Jesus said, don't keep the children from coming to me. Of such is the kingdom of heaven. Because unless someone has the attitude of a little child, they cannot enter my kingdom. Boy, is that wonderful. And Richardson ends up by saying all of those children, millions of them, are now in heaven with the Lord. That means that heaven's population is going to be greater than hell's population. Now, I'm going to leave that right now. I don't want to start a controversy, but that is tremendous thinking. And I know Don has all the answers now. He's my hero for what he did in the wilds of New Guinea for the sake of Jesus Christ. Now, I thought of my little great-grandson who just had 6 months. What have I done? Good night in my 86 years. My daughter says sometimes, Dad, you ought to tell people about a little of your life. I went through, I don't know, at 3, I remember my father killing himself, committing suicide. I wasn't quite 3, 2 years, 10 months, but I can remember the evening exactly and could take 10 minutes now telling you about it. But that was something. I read an article this week that 157,000 people in America died last year of alcohol, drugs, and suicide. Can you believe that? Almost a third of them are suicide. 47,000 Americans killed themselves last year. Now, boy, that says something about needing an idea about why God made us. Isn't that interesting? Well, my little great-grandson missed all that. He missed all the fact that when I was 5, I was kidnapped. Now, boy, that's a story. I could tell you that one. At 13, I almost died from bulbar and polio and spinal meningitis. That's something. I was, in my high school days, before I was a Christian, I was filled with a lot of devilment. And one incident, I almost got hit. We were running from someone in the car, not paying attention, and crossed the railroad tracks about 20 feet in front of a freight train coming through that we didn't see. I was in the front right seat, and man, we was sweating it then. Man, I almost died then. I remember when I was in the Air Force, I grew up in Dallas and was going through school in Waco, Texas. And I went home every weekend, and I got to the top of the hill and started coming down. Man, there was a horse right in the middle of the highway. And I said, good night. And I swerved right. Thank the Lord he moved a little left, and I didn't miss him that much. And it was another mile or 2 down the road before my heart really started beating and all. And I thought to myself, man, I'm going to kill that horse. And the Lord later told me, son, you had it all wrong. That horse was getting ready to kill you if he had hit the car. And then 3 times I almost died when I was a pilot in the Air Force, but I won't tell you about all those stories. So I've had all that experience: married, children, pastor, jet pilot, general, preacher, author, and you name it, real estate sales. But what did I really gain that my little great grandson has lost? Really, nothing. Because God gives and God takes away. Everyone has a little life and has a purpose and is exalted finally to be everything that God wants someone to be. Isn't that amazing? And what a mystery. I can't even wrap my arms about it or my head about it or my thoughts about it. And so this whole idea about eternity and time, is beyond us. God is really looking back on what's going to happen next year. What do you think about that? And that's too much to see. Well, the book of Job summarizes everything for us. I wrote my little granddaughter, and the verse I think that summarizes life, that gives us the best definition of time and eternity, is in the 4 verses in the book of Job. First one is 121, where Job says, after he'd heard, oh, good night, he'd lost his children, he'd lost his wealth, he'd lost his cattle, he'd lost his health, everything was downhill. It had gone south on him. And things couldn't get any worse. And you know what he said? The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. Most of us get irritated when we lose something, but if something is taken away from us, the Lord has a purpose for that. And if something's given to us, the Lord has a purpose for that. If you're taking notes, that's in Job 121. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. The second great thing Job taught us, and this is in chapter 13, verse 15, is that though the Lord slay me, I will trust him. See, that'll take care of time and eternity. No matter what happens to you, if you trust God, really believe that he's in charge, and even if you die, he's going to bring the best of it. That's what he said through Paul in Romans 8. All things work together to good to them who love Jesus Christ. I have one of my little sayings that says that the worse it gets, the better it gets if we get in on what God is up to. And what God is up to is to make you and me like his son. And that won't happen cheap, and it won't happen without suffering. And then Job gives a word, even though we're in darkness and pain and all, he said, though I be tried with fire, I shall emerge as gold. In other words, all my suffering, all my hurt, all my hits, all my frustrations, all my losses, all my pain, all my agony, if I see it right, is going to make me more like Jesus Christ. And when I'm like him, everything is mine. Just like my little 6-month-old great-grandson. Everything that will belong to me when I get to heaven already belongs to him. Oh, Lord, how wonderful and sweet and gentle you are to this arrogant, ignorant me, as what most of us are. But then when we get through it, and we will, and at my age now, they used to talk about the dying grace, the living grace, suffering grace, and all that kind of stuff. Well, there's such a thing as dying grace. And Remind me of the little lady that one of my dear friends who's in heaven now, she was dying and asked her son to come over and bend down where she could talk to him. And he and the family was all there. They knew she'd be gone in a matter of minutes, and she had one last thing to say. And she said, "Son, come closer so I can talk." And he bent down and said, "What is it, Mom?" And she said, "I'm so excited." Boy, isn't that something? Minutes away from seeing the full glory and destiny and face of the living Lord. Good night. No wonder Job said at the end, and I think I gave you that be tried with fire and become as gold. That's in Job 23:10, if you're taking notes. And the last one is is in 42:5. I have heard of thee with the ears, my Lord, but now I have seen thee with my eyes. There's nothing greater than to seeing Jesus Christ in your mind and your heart. It changes everything. Mary Magdalene, the first thing she said after Jesus was killed and she went looking for him, saw him and he called her name. And she said, "I have seen the Lord." That handles everything. That's time and eternity wrapped up together. And that's our destiny as true Christians. Father, thank you for these thoughts, that no matter what happens to us, it's redemptive, that we can gain more of you, which is infinitely of more value than whatever we lose down here. I pray that the people I love and that I and the people watching now will determine they live life this way. That, Lord, you have given and you take away. And when we see you and why you did it, it's all wonderful. In your dear name, amen. Good night. How long?